We've reached that stage in this long green season, that season after Pentecost, where we have some more generic themes that are at play liturgically. We have wonderful readings from the epistles and the gospel, but it's broader in their scope and not quite so narrow in focus. And so we're thinking also about things that are more generic, and it gives us a chance to pull from our repertoire of hymns and anthems some things that are really well loved, some very familiar and some maybe not quite as familiar, but still very engaging. We'll begin the service singing one of the foundation hymns of our repertoire, Immortal, Invisible, God Only Wise. A little history about that text and that tune. Both are somewhat old, several hundred years old, but it was a pairing that Ralph Vaughan Williams, the early 20th century English composer and folk music enthusiast, it's a text and a tune pairing that he came up with for the English hymnal. The tune is of Welsh origin, although it's a little bit unclear exactly where that tune comes from, probably secular in nature, but the version that Vaughan Williams used still has all of those characteristics of the Welsh hymnody, strong four-part harmonies that are made to be sung without any accompaniment at all, strong driving rhythmic force. Unusually though, a lot of those Welsh tunes are in the minor mode. Even though they're quite happy and peppy tunes, they often are in minor keys, and this one being in a major mode is a little bit unusual. But Vaughan Williams himself paired this with this text, a 19th century text by Walter Smith, and it has entered the repertoire, and rarely are the text and the tune not seen fused together. The Trebles will be singing with us this coming Sunday as well, and it's been sort of a heavy fall for them. We kind of ramped up a little bit of the intensity on the treble choir, and they've really matched the challenge. They've lived up to it beautifully. And this is the last of 3 times this fall that they will be singing an anthem on their own. They will be singing the offertory anthem that we, St. John's Cathedral, commissioned a few years back from a friend of mine, David Sims. And the origin of this anthem came from a children's book that we had at home and that I read many, many times with both my son and daughter. And it's a poem that was written by this author, Rhonda Gowler Green, and illustrated by Janet Broxson and published by Concordia. And it has these beautiful, vibrant images that match this text about seeing God's love through all of creation. And these pictures are almost Marc Chagall-esque in their vibrance. And then the text itself is also extremely colorful and rich with wit and with poetry. And David Sims matched all of that with a really delightful hymn-like setting, a tune that is very infectious. It's quite a long poem, and David uses a lot of different musical characteristics for the different areas of the poem, talking about the rushing of the wind and the falling of the snow. It's really a delightful anthem, and it's something that the Trebles really enjoy singing, and we hope that you will enjoy and will contribute richly to your worship. And then at the end, we'll be going out singing this marvelous text and tune, All My Hope on God is Founded. That text is by the English theologian, Church of England priest and poet Robert Seymour Bridges. He published it in his own collection of hymns, the Yattenden Hymnal. And he said that it was after Joachim Neander, who was a German hymn writer of the early Reformation. But really, it's original poetry that maybe Bridges was sort of inspired by Neander's original German poem, but it's much more Bridges than it is Neander. The tune, that marvelous, strong, triumphant tune, was written by the 20th century English composer Herbert Howells. And the story goes that there was a hymn collector who was wanting to put that Robert Bridges text into a collection and wanted a new tune, and wrote a letter to Herbert Howells. Herbert Howells was at his breakfast table opening the mail for the day, and that he opened this letter, read the request, and by the end of breakfast he had composed the tune complete in his head. He named it after Michael, which was his son that died in infancy of meningitis, and it was a loss that Herbert Howells was never able to recover from fully. And even though the death of Michael had been 30 years before the composition of this tune, it's so poignant to think about all my hope on God is founded as he's thinking about dealing with this very struggle, this hard struggle that he had in his own life. So we hope that as you come and worship with us this weekend, that you will enjoy, again, all of these wonderful ideas, these poetic images, and this wonderful music that we have in store for you. Worshiping here with us downtown, or of course, as always, on local cable channel or on our YouTube channel.